Well, hello there. Welcome to my basement. My name is Harold Martin, and I am here today to present the Zachman Framework for you. The basement here where I work, this is a place where I am able to meditate and collect my thoughts. A place where I can...
Papa, have you seen the screwdriver?
Oh, I'm sorry, Sugar. I'm working on a very important project right now, the Zachman Framework, okay? How is that experiment coming?
It's going okay.
Awesome, Sugar. Whenever you're done, I want you to let me know, okay? Because that teleportation device has to be correct. I want to go to 1989, okay? No other year will do. 1989 was a very memorable year to me, so I want to go back there, okay?
Okay.
All right, Sugar. Now back to the topic at hand, and the topic that I know you've all tuned in for. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Zachman Framework. Yes, I know. You're ecstatic and you're excited to hear about it. Well, you know, so am I. When I think about the Zachman Framework, I just get chills all over. My friends and I, that's all we talk about. We're possessed with the Zachman Framework. So I wanted the opportunity to present it to you over via this podcast. So it all began in the early 1980s when a fellow by the name of John Zachman, who was working for IBM at the time, was developing business system planning, which is a method for analyzing, defining, and designing information architecture of organizations. Well, in 1982, Mr. Zachman speculated and concluded that his analysis could be spanned far beyond the just systems design, automation, and managing data. He concluded that BSP could be employed in many different areas of enterprise architecture: data-driven system design, data classification criteria, and more. And so the Zachman Framework was born. The Zachman Framework is a framework for enterprise architecture which provides a highly structured way of viewing and defining an enterprise's framework. The framework Mr. Zachman created is essentially a matrix. It's been through many iterations since its inception in the 1990s, in the 1980s, but currently it looks like this. It's made up of 6 columns and 6 rows. Each of those rows signifying, the columns signify the who, what, when, where, and why. These are the important questions that enterprises have to answer in order to attain the goals that they are seeking. Now the rows correspond to the columns. Each row signifies a key player or a stakeholder within the organization and the part that they play within the organization. What would happen is the stakeholder would go and look at each of those squares for their particular areas. The what, for example, pertains to data. So they would be interested in things such as semantic models, logistical data models, physical data models, etc. Going down to the who, for example. The who has to do with an enterprise's people. This is things like, well, us. We're people. At least some people have said I'm not a people, but until my spaceship comes and whisks me off back to space, I'm going to do my best to blend in with you people until that time comes. So, but within an organization's structure or framework, the who has to do with workflow models, presentation and security architecture, things of that nature. When has to do with time. Speaking of time, Devlin, how are you coming along with that teleportation tricycle device? Have you set the parameters correctly? Because the last time you teleported me, remember, you teleported me to the Paleozoic era. And if you recall, that Eurypterid almost stung me to death. I mean, the poison was horrible. Have you set the parameters correctly, I assume? Correctly? Yes?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Excellent. All right. I'm glad you're still working on that. But time within the framework that we're talking about, of course, has to do with master schedules, control structures, timing definitions, things such as that. Now, the columns, as I indicated, are only part of this framework. It has to do with the rows, which are the stakeholders, and the stakeholders would assume their individual tasks boxes within the columns for their level. And the lower the rows go, the more in-depth the data that is required for the stakeholder at hand or in question. So the purpose of Zachman's framework is to summarize a collection of perspectives involved in enterprise architecture. The framework does not attempt to define a process for an architecture. Rather, it's a template that must be filled in by or for the processes specifically required within an enterprise or an organization. If the processes do not already exist, this framework helps identify the gaps in the organization. The framework is a simple and logical structure for classifying and organizing a descriptive representation of an enterprise, and because it includes non-IT components within it, such as people, processes, and time, it is an appropriate addition to the overall IT strategy toolkit for a CIO, or Chief Information Officer. In conclusion, the Zachman Framework provides enterprises a formal and highly structured way of viewing and defining their organization. The framework provides 36 necessary categories for completely describing anything, and it provides a holistic view of the environment, an important capability for an organization. This concludes my sermon on the Zachman Framework.
Can you check this algorithm for me, please?
Sure, dear. I hope that you not only found it enlightening, but that you also enjoyed it. Now, son, sure, let me check this algorithm for you. Yeah, it looks good. Are you ready to send me back to 1989 yet?
Almost. Do you have those parachute pants ready?
I sure do. Let's go ahead and try them.
Okay, then let's try it.
I'll see you on the flip side. This is Harold Martin.